Healing with Human Connection, where we have encouraging conversations about tough topics such as substance abuse, drug addiction, and mental health issues for those in the Northwest Indiana area. Our hope is to share information that will guide you to resources that can help you change your life so that you can live the life you were meant to live. Check out our website, www.healingwithconnection.com, to find a full transcript of today's conversation, along with a list of any resources or links mentioned in this episode. Enjoy the show.
Hello everyone, welcome to Healing with Human Connection. I'm Jeanne Ann. I'm a therapist, social worker, and life coach, and I do in-person therapy and coaching and online. And we have Miss Lisa Scheller. Miss Lisa, yay! My partner in crime and partner. Lisa is a life and health coach, and she specializes in individual and family coaching. She and her husband have written a book. Yay, Lisa!
Yes, From Fear to Faith. Yes, a family's journey with addiction, recovery, and grace. So, it's helping share the story of the addiction. We know that's not going to go away, and what can we do to fill the gaps for people, step in the gaps, and. So if anybody's interested, just can reach out. We'll have the information on the podcast. But
part of your website, Lisa?
Yeah, on the website, Heart and Health Coaching, and Facebook. But so our overall goal as our family is to share our stories so that other people know they do not walk this alone. So.
Well, and having alcoholism in our family, and the whole reason I got into this field was because of alcoholism. And the book is like, I could not put it down. It is so good. More importantly, is we have Sam with us, Sam Burgett. Am I saying that right? Burgett. And Brianna is an intern with the Valpo Police Department. So excited to have them for so many reasons. They work with the Valpo Police Department, and Sam will also talk about a little bit about a non-for-profit organization that she's involved with. But in today's world, and of course we won't be showing this taping until a week later, but of course just last night what happened, unfortunately, we'll be keeping our prayers and thoughts with the people at Michigan State. But our world can be a little crazy, and not only do our communities need help and people in our communities who are troubled, but also police departments and those in the helping field who need to help themselves on how to deal with people who are doing not so good things in our world. So the fact that Sam works for and Brianna is interning at the Valpo Police Department doing what they do is so enlightening to me, because, and Lisa and I,
absolutely,
because we need more when you talk about these mass shootings and horrific events, is that people need help in our community. So anyway, without further ado, Sam and Brianna, maybe first, Sam, you can tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you even get into this? Tell me you're a social worker, right?
Yes. So I have my MSW from IUPUI. I'm a licensed social worker. I'm in process of getting my clinical license. So I never anticipated working with law enforcement. I graduated with my undergrad degree. While I was in school for my BSW, I had started a nonprofit, the Community Change Center, based upon the need I was seeing in the justice system, both working with kids and adults. So I had that going. I had very little intention of going to grad school. I thought, I'm doing what I want to be doing. Here I am. COVID hit, shut down the programs that the nonprofit had been operating, and I thought, if I'm going to get a master's, I should probably do it now. So I got my MSW. I was itching to come back to the area, and I moved to Valpo in 2016 to go to VU. So in 2020, I moved to Indianapolis to get my master's. Got that, was ready to come back. I worked in the prosecutor's office in Porter County for a brief time, which, if for anybody that knows what prosecutors do, you know why that's really ironic. I'd been doing reentry for a long time, but I saw the value in building relationships with and understanding that part of the system that I wasn't very familiar with.
And just to clarify a little bit, Sam, when you talk about reentry, for those listening, reentry means?
So someone's return to the community after incarceration. So when I was in school, what led me to start that nonprofit is I was running a program for teens I had a group of teens who would disappear for a few weeks, come back, and they were just acting totally different. So I say my calling is social work. So when I see an issue, I can't not do something to address it. And so I started a mentoring program in our detention center in the area. Totally fell in love with the population, started working there as an officer, saw more flaws in the justice system, did a lot of research on other juvenile reentry programs, and the facility actually let me start and run that. So I was working with the kids while they were incarcerated. Then as they came back to the community, shortly after that, I had the opportunity to launch something similar in Westville Prison. So while I was in undergrad, I was running those. I knew I needed more resources to support them, so I started the nonprofit, graduated, got my master's, came back. When George Floyd was killed, a lot of social workers, including myself, were like, clearly something needs to change. You know, we've been knowing there's a lot of flaws, but that was kind of what got me interested, and to even know that police social work existed somewhere. So when I was in grad school, I was studying the field. There's very little published on it, but I could, find a couple articles of a couple departments that were doing that work. So when I came back, I was working in the prosecutor's office, and I heard that Valpo PD might be looking to hire a social worker, and so I kind of positioned myself to be found. And so I was hired there in September of 2021. So I'm the first police social worker in Porter County. Currently the only. We're of course working to expand the program, but it's been great.
Oh my gosh! Talk about seeing a flaw in the system and doing something about it. Cheers to you, Brianne. It is just great. And there are so many wonderful police officers, but in any field, there's reasons why we do unhealthy behavior in the Floyd situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's
a big issue.
Yes.
Complicated.
Yes. And officers don't go to school to do social work either, of course, right? No. They're kind of social workers out in the field and they're not trained to do that. But a lot of them do try to do that. And so the police chief, former police chief of Valpo, saw that need, and for a couple years he was adamant about bringing a social worker on, and when HealthLink came along with the funding, he jumped on it.
Well, what is his name, just to say?
So Jeff Ballin is the new sheriff for Porter County, but he was the police chief that hired me at Valpo.
Oh my gosh.
And I've heard, and of course I attended that back in September over at the Porter County Fairgrounds when they had that substance abuse and mental health day, and all those people that came together that says, there is real problem here, but what are we going to do to be a part of the solution and not just, incarcerate people, but there's got to be some kind of a path that they can go down. Mm-hmm. So the work that they're doing is just amazing. Right?
We also recently interviewed Andy Hynek. With LaPorte, City of LaPorte Sheriff's Department, please. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's very in tune, so we need to hook him up with you too. Yeah. So Brianne, tell us a little bit about you. You're an intern with...
Yes. So I'm from Valparaiso University. I'm a senior social work major. I have a psych minor. And I've been interning with Sam at the police department and half at her nonprofit since August of last year. So I'll be here until May.
Yeah. What do you like about it?
I really like the community connections that we receive, and just seeing the impacts of both her nonprofit and the position at the police department, because I've seen a lot of the positive impacts that I've seen.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That's awesome. Thank you, and we wish you all the best, and hopefully you'll end up working, but again, Sam, to clarify, so you are not only helping the people, tell us who you serve from the Valpo department, please.
So my main focus is on the community, but I do that internal component with the officers as well. So internally, I design trainings, mental health, bias, things like that for the department. I facilitate those. But then the Valpo Police was very progressive in building out their officer wellness program prior to my hire. So they had already brought on an internal mental health consultant to be available 24/7 to the officers before I was even hired. And so they've had him, they did that to focus on their mental health. They started incentivizing the physical health piece. So I've been able to kind of help them expand that program. We know that stigma surrounding mental health is real anywhere, but particularly in law enforcement when they're the ones out in the community being that protector and server of the community. And so it's been I spent the past year and some change just talking about mental health and, you know, that it's okay to ask for help. And so,
And that's just so important now because, especially coming off of COVID, and we know that it's escalated. So people need to know there is an out, that they do not need to carry this with them. And if they do decide that they do need help of some sort, it's just like if you had, I don't know, sinus infection, you'd go get help for it.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's some kind of mental illness, there are people out there to help, and more than ever now, right? You know, so.
Yeah, so there's that internal piece, but my main focus, most of my time is spent out in the community. So I receive referrals from all over the place for all types of reasons. So I actually review our police reports every morning, and then I will reach out to a person if I think there's a resource they could benefit from, especially if there's, you know, a victim of crime or mental health. If we do a mental health commitment on someone, then I reach out to them a few days later to make sure they were connected with services, things like that. So I reach out to people when I see a need, but also our officers send me referrals when they think that someone is needing services. The community members reach out to me and say, you know, my brother is having this kind of crisis, can you help? Other agencies will call and we brainstorm resources and collaboration a lot. And the longer I'm here, the more I get self-referrals. So people like kind of
trust you.
Right, they hit their rock bottom and show up, you know, in tears with all these things going on at the police department and just say I need help. And so
So if anyone is listening, I guess twofold. The major groups are police officers or maybe even police officers' families that are struggling with some aspect. I mean, I cannot even imagine being a police officer. So the aspect of their work is very heavy and it is confidential. So sometimes sharing is difficult. And the other thing is if you're a parent or if you're a person out there and your child is maybe been caught by police multiple times and you're struggling and they won't get help and you want them to get help and you don't know how to get help, Sam would be a great, and Brianna would be a great resource for you to call. Because there, as Lisa said, there are so many ways to get help out there. Can you talk for a minute about the thought of stigma? I mean, I just know people, you know, of my era, mid 40s, whatever, your young era. Why is it that people don't ask for help?
yeah, well, a lot of it I think is that stigma. People are embarrassed, or you know, we've never really treated mental health as we do physical health. So as Lisa and I were talking about, if you break an arm, you go to the doctor. There's no stigma there, right? But if you are having suicidal thoughts, or you know, it's been this way for so long that it's really hard for people to reach out, and it's also more, I don't want to say more complicated than navigating the you know, the physical health system, but it is complicated, and there's a lot of you know, your insurance really matters, and there's a lot of, you know, long wait lists and things like that. So once you have even gotten to the point where you can say, yes, I'm experiencing this, and so yes, I'm ready for help, then it's a matter of actually getting connected.
Right. Wow, Sam, that is true. I mean, I know, and I'm sure Lisa knows, when we have clients and say they need substance abuse treatment and they need to be in a center for whatever reason, you have to find insurance, and how much does it cost? And oh, sorry, they won't take that insurance. So, okay, let's look at this. And then the stigma, I think, there are good therapists and not good therapists, good treatment centers, not so good treatment centers. That's very scary. So by calling someone like Sam and Brianna, you can get some inside scoop, and Lisa,
Absolutely.
myself, inside scoop on what is the reputation. And someone like Sam, obviously, Sam, you're proving yourself to your community, not only inside the Valpo Police Department, but in the community, and those who provide resources, that they trust you and you're the real deal. So bravo to you.
Yes.
But that stigma of, for anyone having emotional issues, it's embarrassing, as you said,
It's
and
the shame,
scary.
the shame and the guilt that go along with it, or you know, coming to realize, you know, getting out of the denial part of it,
Right.
and knowing that you need to get help, because you can get them the help, but if they're not wanting to get the help, so they gotta really just, you know, come from within to get that help. So.
Or not knowing that they need the help, maybe, would be part of it too. Like, for instance, how does, and I guess I'm just this Michigan State shooting that just occurred. They interviewed some students who have been in the situation and got out of it. I'm thinking emotionally those people need big help, let alone the poor families who have now lost a child. So instead of thinking, I'll deal with this and I'll be okay, what would you say to them, Sam?
I always say everybody needs therapy. We all do. It doesn't matter who we are. Yeah, you need somebody.
And why would you say that? Let's just so people hear. What?
We all need support. We all need to feel heard. We all need somebody to listen to us. So.
And what's
unconditionally, somebody non-judgmental. You know.
Yeah. Maybe talk about that in a minute, if you would, Lisa. That why is it so nice, if you would, and that may sound very scary to a listener. Why is it so nice to go to someone that doesn't know you?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I think it takes the pressure off. You know, I've been to physical health appointments and, you know, light conversation. What do you do? And I say, and they say, I've heard about you. That's amazing. And then they want, you know, and then I'm like, wow, now, you know, you're going to remember this and connect whatever I have going on. And it's just nice to definitely to go to somebody that doesn't know you, doesn't know your family. And one, you kind of know, well, they don't even know my who I'm connected to. So who are they going to tell?
Right.
But also I think it decreases that fear of shame.
Yeah. And I think who are they going to tell? What most people don't understand, or people like yourself, Lisa, being our ethical code is that we don't tell. My husband doesn't see who I have as clients. I mean, there's no, and only time will prove that I keep that code. But you've been doing this for, you know, years too. You know, obviously people trust you. So it is a trust thing.
It's very much of a trust thing, and I also believe it's somebody that knows somebody that feels comfortable to refer them because, you know, you were that person for them. Right?
Is there anything else, Brianna, thoughts for someone listening
That's
why
important.
they might want to call, or anything you've learned?
Yeah, I mean, I can say that people always want to know when or why would I call, and I say, you know, it's really hard to answer that because people call for everything, you know, for aging, for kids, for mental health, for housing, for financial assistance, for anything and everything.
So you have nothing to lose, right?
Right,
Just call.
Right,
If you can't help them, you know someone who can.
Yeah,
And it's a
part
start.
of the community that has all these resources, and you know that's one thing that I know Sam in. She has a group that gets together once a month at the police department, last Friday of every month, 9 o'clock, and I had the opportunity to attend that meeting just in January, and it's just amazing the people that came to the table. I don't know, that day there must have been like 40 different people from all different careers. I mean, there was pastors there, and then there was Franciscan Health, and you know, just different people who took the time to come there because they want to be a part of the solution and the bigger picture, and how can my organization help? And you know, now you have that big resource bank, you know, and there's just so many things out there that people just don't know. I mean, and it's all about educating them. I mean, I learned a lot that day, just because I didn't know. I was like, wow, this is great. Everybody should know this, you know.
And you're in the field.
And the more I know, the more I can use that to connect people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that brings me, I mean, I always harp on the macro part. So of course, being the only social worker there, I am the one doing the case management and the referrals and all of that, along with the intern. And we have another intern as well, and they help so much. But of course, my priority is always that, getting the person connected with what they need. But when I came in, when I was hired, I was spending so much time feeling like I was just spinning my wheels because I couldn't, you know, you might call an agency 5 times before you get somebody to even make that referral. So my big thing has been, how do we strengthen our systems as a community so then we're doing more effective and more efficient referrals? So like Lisa mentioned, almost a year ago now, I started a community partners network through Valpo Police. So the fourth Friday of every month at 9 a.m. At this point, we have between 80 and 90 agencies involved. So on any given meeting, we have about 40-ish agencies that show up. So we've built out our internal resource guide so that we as a community know what we have, but then we always want to work ourselves out of a job, right? And so we try to think about how can we make these resources and the info more accessible to the community. So we're taking the guide that we have created by service providers for service providers, putting that online, and then ideally we're trying to get that put on kiosks around town so that somebody walking down the street can say, I need a food bank, pop it up and get an updated list rather than now I have to figure out how do I call the police department? Who do I ask for? So
some people don't want to call.
Right.
They want to look it up.
But they're going to look it up and they're going to see all those great agencies and what they do, and has a note in there and who the contact person is, and you call right there because, when Jeanne Ann and I worked for Dunebrook Child Abuse, Child Abuse Prevention and Intervention, we didn't have all the answers. We had our programs, but some people would call. I need help with this, or who's a great therapist and stuff like
and
that.
We'd be happy
because that's what they think of. That's how their mind registers.
Sure.
Like, I'm going to call them because they will help.
Right.
And to just ease, give people a sense of ease that it's okay,
Right. And just to begin talking to someone about it.
Yeah.
It is just a beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to thank you, honestly, for what you do, Brianna and Sam. We will be rooting for you, gosh. And Lisa, thank you, of course, for all the insight.
And you, Jeanne Ann.
Thank you. So if you're out there, and of course, Cassie, our behind the scenes, Cassie, always keeping us straight on technology. Thank you so much. But we, especially, again, this isn't until next week, but today is Valentine's Day, and I listened to a sermon this weekend at church, and it talked about love, and love is really the answer, the foundational answer to it all. And what you're doing is so loving and caring. So our wish for all of you out there is that you love yourself enough and be kind enough to yourself to have the courage to reach out, to begin to reach out. And certainly Sam and Brianna at the Valpo Police Department, if you can't remember their names, just ask for the social work department. And of course, Lisa Scheller and myself are always available. So if we can't help you, we can certainly steer you in the right direction. So our wish is that be very kind to yourself and get the help you or a loved one needs. And we wish you all the best. Thank you.
Have a great week.
If you enjoyed today's episode, let us know by leaving a comment or review and sharing with a friend. All resources mentioned today and a full transcript of this episode can be found by going to our website, www.healingwithconnection.com. A video of this recording can be found on our YouTube channel, and the audio podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts.